So in this video, I'm going to take you through an FIA video on the FIA's YouTube channel. So they've got 188,000 subscribers, and this is them showing you race control, because a lot of people don't understand it. So this is what you're going to find out now. You can look at their video. It's a 7-minute, 45-minute video presented by Anthony Davidson, but I want to show you the truth, because you get gaslighted by the media. You do not get a true impression. You don't actually understand what's going on, because they don't tell you what's really key here. Now, this is a follow-on from this video here, the Corrupt FIA, where this race director that's in charge of the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix, okay, Eduardo Freitas, who is the man in charge of this Grand Prix 2022 Japan, whereby he puts a crane out on track in low visibility conditions, low grip conditions, knowing that Gasly is going on track trying to catch the safety car snake, completely unaware that there's a crane on track, risking Gasly's life, risking a similar incident to 2014 Japan, which cost Jules Bianchi his life, okay? And he blamed Gasly for that. The FIA then go, we've decided for more consistency, we're just going to use one race director for the remainder of the season. And what they did, they moved Eduardo Freitas over to WEC. Here he is, look. He's now got this job, having been guilty of gross misconduct over at the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. So this video shows you how Charlie Whiting can time the deployment of a safety car to manipulate the results of a race, so that it benefits certain competitors and harms other competitors' chances. Charlie Whiting waited approximately 1 minute 40 seconds from the timing of the incident to deploying the safety car. That safety car was queued up and ready to go, and he waited until the leader and the second place, a Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas, and the second place Ferrari, which I think was Vettel at the time, okay, he waited until they passed the pit entrance before then declaring the safety car. The third place competitor was Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, who then got straight entry into the pits to make a pit stop. The second running the second running Red Bull, that was fifth place Daniel Ricciardo, ultimately won that race. Red Bull double stacked by immediately entering the pits after the Red Bull B team had performed this crash, putting some debris on the track. Race control waited 1 minute 40 seconds before timing the deployment of the safety car. That is manipulation. That is advantaging some competitors. Red Bull was straight on it, waiting in the pit lane for that safety car deployment. You couldn't make it up, but they do. So this is a follow-on from that. So this is how race control manipulates Grand Prix. This is the corruption within race control, the fact that they are guilty of gross negligence, and yet they put the blame on Gasly for that. They penalise Gasly for that. They gaslighted the situation by projecting that the fault lay elsewhere, and then they just quietly said, oh, for consistency, we're just going to use one race director. So they move this guy out of the way, and they move him. So and just to prove this, here is the documentation. Eduardo Freitas, Formula One race director, okay, 2022 Japanese Grand Prix, race director's events notes, Eduardo Freitas. So he was the race director at the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. And now let's have a look at this video. Okay, so I'm going to go on to full screen. Make sure we are rewound to the start, and it's Anthony Davidson doing a presentation on FIA insights about FIA race control. This isn't Formula One race control, but you can guarantee that Formula One race control will be set up in a very similar way. It would have to be. If anything, they will be even greater resource. There'll be even more people and even more screens and even more data available at Formula One events than there is WEC. So let's have a look.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
You see how quickly they spring into action whenever you see that something is dangerous.
There you go. When something's dangerous, why? Because they're health and safety officers.
Hi, I'm Anthony Davidson. For this new FIA Insight Explainer, we're going to be looking at
Oh, the FIA Inside Explainer. We're all learning, we're all ears.
the race controls. This is usually a place where it's very secretive.
We're going to go into FIA race control, and it's usually a place which is very secretive. Why? Straight away, the alarm bells should be ringing. Why is race control the body that's involved? Basically, they're there to oversee an event and identify if there is a safety issue and deal with it appropriately by utilising the regulations of the sport to deal with it appropriately. What is to be secretive about that, Davidson? Why are you presenting that they're usually secretive? What have you got to hide, FIA race control, that you would need to be secretive? That is fucked up.
Explainer, we're going to be looking at the race controls. This is usually a place where it's very secretive. It's the heart and soul of a FIA WEC endurance.
So this is media, the way that media present it to the brain dead masses. Oh, we're going to see inside the secret command center. Oh, this is going to be really good. Nobody actually thinks, why the fuck is it secretive? Okay, all you're doing is looking at the cameras, because you've got all your screens in front of you. You're identifying if there's something that's not safe, and you are intervening to make it safe. That's your job. What's secretive about that? And to carry out your job, what you do, you have a series of measures that are at your disposal with which to deal with it. So if there's a car that has crashed, then that's a problem, because if another car then crashes into it, somebody might die. So you've got to deal with it. How are we going to deal with it? What is the safest way of dealing with it? That's what we do. Simple as that. And now, having dealt with it, having had to intervene to deal with it, before we go racing again, we have to do this regulation, because we've had to neutralise racing to deal with a safety concern. In doing so, if we've disadvantaged somebody, we have to reset the conditions so that everything is reset for everyone. They're the regulations of sport. That's what it's about. That's their role. That's all this is about. Oh, it's so secretive, says this guy in his t-shirt.
Championship event, and usually when you're a driver you feel quite intimidated to come here.
Oh, we're all scared of race control. Why are you scared of the race director, the person that's in charge of health and safety? Are you scared of a referee when you're playing football? These aren't the referee. The stewards are the ones that referee. The stewards are the ones that determine whether you've committed an infringement. Why are you scared of the body that is there purposefully to oversee the safety of the event? Nothing to be scared of.
Here, because it usually means you're in a bit of trouble.
No, you're not in a bit of trouble if you're summoned by race control. It's the stewards where you're in a bit of trouble. Okay, and you need to take responsibility for your own actions on the track. But don't be scared. Man up, princess.
Because it's like walking into the head teacher's office. Follow me. Honestly, we are allowed in this time.
You're scared. You're supposed to be a grown man, and you're scared of going into race control. What a flange.
Eduardo, thanks for joining.
Eduardo, here he is. Remember Eduardo Freitas from the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix? Guilty of gross negligence, guilty of almost putting Pierre Gasly in a similar situation to Jules Bianchi of the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix, which cost Jules Bianchi his life. Here he is, look. Move sideways to race directing WEC. This is what happens to you when you're guilty of gross negligence in the FIA.
Joining us here, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able.
Count the screens, count the number of people you see. And like I say, this is WEC. Formula One is likely to have more personnel because it's much greater resource. There's a lot more money attached to Formula One. Look at the stations, even if there's no personnel there at this moment in time. Look at the potential for the number of people to be sat there performing their role.
To explain in this amazing looking room what it's all about and the team of people that you've got working with you. How do you work with so many people?
Well, Abu Dhabi 2021, it was just Michael Massey on his own under so much pressure because Jonathan Wheatley was on the radio to him saying, you don't need to let them go right around the track, Michael, and then we have a motor race on our hands. Oh, and he caved under the pressure. No, there was not at least 10 other people in FIA race control at Abu Dhabi 2021 who all know the rules and regulations of the sport, all know not what needs to be carried out prior to the resumption of any kind of racing, okay, and all know the reasons why. And oh no, we just pay Michael Massey off, okay? We make a little piece of paper, we give him a load of money, we make him sign that piece of paper, and we say legally, oh, that's a non-disclosure agreement. You're not allowed to tell anybody what we've done here. You're not allowed to say anything, and legally, you're not allowed to say anything. Now, that's a legal document enabling our fraud. No, that's a bullshit application of law. That's what that is, and it will not stand up in any court. That's a real court that is actually interested in law, not just enabling lawyers to make money out of legal argument, okay? Because law is different to corrupt bastards trying to construct an argument to win an argument, irrespective of whether it involves truth or the difference between right and wrong. Corrupt bastard lawyers, understand that. Because there's a difference between law, the difference between right and wrong in the context of a given situation, and legal argument, corrupt bastard lawyer making an argument to defend wrongdoing by corrupt bastards. Understand? Anyway, we'll carry on with this.
Well, each one has a specific task allocated.
What was your task, Eduardo? The safety of all the competitors in that race in Japan 2022, along with the safety of all of the track staff around there, the marshals and anybody that's recovering any incidents. What did you do, Eduardo? You oversaw Pierre Gasly going around that track in limited visibility, limited grip conditions, completely unaware that there was a crane on track deployed to remove Carlos Sainz's car from track, and you endangered Pierre Gasly in that situation, and then you blamed Gasly for it, you filthy bastard.
It's a big group of people. You have people which just...
It's a big group of people in FIA race control. Thanks for that, Eduardo.
Take care of the cameras, people which just take care of the hardware, the software.
People taking care of the hardware and the software. Thanks for that. This guy's sharing his valuable insight, isn't he? Count the personnel in FIA race control. There's at least two banks of people. There's probably 5 people per bank. And this is WEC.
Where people which just take care of communicating with the marshals. This is divided the software. You have people which just take care of the cameras, people which just take care of the hardware, the software, people which just take care of communicating with the marshals. This is divided into several groups.
So how many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe five people there?
It's a complex operation.
You are
It's a highly complex technical sport. Don't you worry, little heads.
the FIA race director for the World Endurance Championship.
Eduardo Freitas, FIA race director. Been moved across into this cushy number after he's guilty of gross negligence in Formula One. Filthy bastards. Filthy bastards.
Explain that role to people that aren't familiar with that.
There is something which happens on track, a contact, take it for example. We look at it from our side of race control. If that contact needs to be investigated deeper, we send it to the stewards.
Yes, so if you see what you might deem an infringement, You refer it to the stewards for them to make a refereeing decision. Okay, so you refer that on. You're not making that refereeing decision. You're referring that on to stewards, aren't you? Not a big role, is it? That's not your primary role.
Why? Because they have time. We have to manage the events.
Yes, your role is to manage the event, overseeing the safe running of that event. They've got time to review the evidence. They've got time to use VAR that's existed for how many years? Well, since they've had cameras at these races, they can rewind that footage and replay it back. Oh, how long has that happened for? 30, 40, 50 years? Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments section. That's how long they've had VAR. After 2021, they told us, oh, it'd be a good idea if we could use VAR, wouldn't it, to deal with these situations? Lying, gaslighting bastards.
So we can afford ourselves to lose a little bit looking at it. If we see it's complex, we send it to the stewards. The stewards have more time. They don't have to follow the race.
It's not complex, is it? It's not complex determining an infringement. It's only complex when you have to twist everything around to absolve Max Verstappen of any guilt in any such incident and project blame on the other driver. That's when you have to make a convoluted response. Oh, shall we apply an immediate penalty to the other driver, or shall we wait till the end of the race, invite in Max Verstappen to hear what he has to say, and then decide no further action required? What shall we do? Let's refer that to the stewards.
From the race from the safety point of view, so they have more.
There you go. Let's rewind that, Eduardo.
Have more time. They don't have to follow the race from the safety point of view.
So the stewards do not have to follow the race from the safety point of view. This is race control. This is their remit. Following the race from the safety point of view. Understand that?
So they have more time. They go into details. If needed, they will do a hearing. If that hearing comes out with a penalty, they will inform me and the competitor. Then I announce the penalty.
There you go. Race control can communicate that penalty that's been adjudicated by the stewards. But that's not their primary role. If they see what they think is an incident that needs investigating, they palm it off to the stewards do their thing, and then race control inform the competitor of what has been decided. Okay, that's a part of their role, but that is not their primary role. Their primary role is to constantly observe that race and primarily oversee the safe running of that event.
So they decide the penalties, I apply the penalties. So when a driver gets a drive-through, it's not because I give him a drive-through.
Yeah, that's very well explained and demystifies, I think, that common misconception between stewards and race directors.
The role here is safety.
You are the health and safety officer. Absolutely right, Eduardo. Did you remember that at Japan 2022? When you enabled Pierre Gasly, well, actually you enabled the crane to be on track, knowing that Pierre Gasly had just exited the pits because the green light was on as he exited the pits, as proven in my previous video. You knew that he was then driving to a Delta, which was faster than those safety cars following the safety car. You knew that the visibility was poor. You knew that the track grip was poor because Carlos Sainz had already lost control at that location. And you knew that there was going to be a crane on track when Gasly would be passing that incident at his Delta speed. You enabled that. You put Gasly in danger. You then deflected from that, claiming it was Gasly's fault that he was speeding under red flag conditions. You filthy bastard.
To think that common misconception between stewards and race directors.
The role here is safety is everything decided here.
Yes.
Sporting, it's decided in the other room.
No. Infringements are decided in the other room. Sporting fairness is in this room. Because the safety aspect needs to be dealt with by you. And in dealing with that safety aspect, if that means you need to neutralise racing, then prior to the resumption of racing, you need to make sure you carry out the regulations that restore sporting fairness. So that is a requirement of race control. Why aren't you saying that? Oh, because that exposes Abu Dhabi 2021. The whole purpose of 48.12, this mystery regulation that nobody knows, the 15.3, the race director's overriding authority to freestyle the regulations and just freestyle the race, just to set up a two-car race-off with just two competitors. No, not at all. You've had to intervene in a race because there is a safety concern. You oversee the safe clear-up of that to ensure that the track is safe to resume racing. And prior to resuming racing, you ensure that the conditions are met to resume racing. And that is that you've carried out the appropriate regulation relative to the measure that you have used to clear up that incident. So, if it is a safety car that you've deployed, then you have to keep that safety car on track until at least the leader is behind the safety car and all of the other cars are bunched up behind that leader. All previously built up advantages have been wiped out between all competitors. You've neutralised racing and it's impacted each of them competitors in a similar way. Therefore, we are restarting from a scratch position with all of the previously built up advantages between all competitors wiped out. That is the regulation. If at that stage cars have been lapped, then what will be happening is the leader will be collected by the safety car. Any cars that are lapped will have to wait behind that lead car, or the other cars have also lapped it. But that car that has been lapped is still in a race with the car that's just now ahead of the leader, that isn't held back by the safety car, and actually then disappears off around the track and joins the back of the safety car snake. So you cannot leave that car that the leader has passed, that lapped, now a lap down on the car that it was previously able to challenge just because of a safety incident. Hence, you carry out the regulation, which is to release those cars that have been lapped, and you keep that safety car on track for at least one further lap to enable those released cars the opportunity of catching the back of that pack to achieve that condition of all cars being in a line in the correct race order, one behind the other, with all previously built up advantages wiped out. That is your role, race control. That's how it works in Formula One. I don't know whether it's the same regulations in WEC. I don't care. This channel is about exposing Abu Dhabi 2021. This video is giving you insight into FIA race control. This guy is incompetent. This guy is grossly negligent. He's still got a job. A cushy job. A job that many people would be capable of doing. He's still got it.
Well, I'm here now. I'm joined by Benoit Dupont. You are the FIA sporting delegate for the World Endurance Championship.
So, FIA race control was just Michael Massey on his own in a shed with 16 telephones all ringing him, going, "Oh, do this, Michael, do that, Michael, don't do this, Michael." Oh, he collapsed under pressure. No, they seem to have a lot of FIA personnel, don't they? And you'd think if you got a job in the FIA, there'd be an entry requirement. You'd think that there'd be, a global governing body for a sport. You'd think that they'd be ensuring that the personnel they employed were intelligent people, met some entry criteria before being handed a prestigious role, being handed a position of responsibility in charge of a global sporting event. You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Benoit, tell us how you put this team of people together and your role within the FIA.
Well, actually, in the race control, we have two groups of people. I would say the international team that is brought by the FIA and the ACO. And on the other hand, we have the local Motorsport Federation guys, which are linked to the circuit. And
so, as I say, in terms of stewarding, every Grand Prix, there are 4 stewards. 3 of them are provided by the FIA. The 4th one is provided by the local circuit. Okay, as it was in Abu Dhabi 2021. The 3 stewards that I focus on are Derek Warwick, Felix Holter, and Gary Connolly. Each one of those 3 is entirely corrupt. Derek Warwick has a conflict of interest. It's within the FIA's own regulations that you're not allowed to have a conflict of interest. And yet they don't identify the fact that Derek Warwick owns a Honda car dealership and is adjudicating on a Honda-powered car being crowned world champion corruptly. And how that impacts Derek Warwick's business, the kudos of the Honda brand achieving a world championship status that's going to benefit the sales of the things that he sells. That's a conflict of interest. And the FIA, just overlook that one. Overlook. We'll call Susie Wolff being married to Toto Wolff a conflict of interest of her being able to carry out her role as head of the woman series of motorsport racing. How is that a conflict of interest? How does that benefit Susie Wolff in terms of her being able to perform her role as the head of that series? Not in the same way that Derek Warwick benefits, is it? No.
Which are the experts of the circuit, and we rely on to manage everything that's happening on track.
So you're not taking the same group of people, therefore, from track to track in this World Championship. You're having to rely on integrating different members of the team.
Davidson's here. He's learning off the juggler, Craig Slater. We're having to move our hands around so that we all understand.
Exactly. Our team brings the knowledge out of the championship itself, and of course, they are bringing the knowledge out of the track.
I am the one sending also the warning flags and all that stuff. Then we have another software which we have all the TV cameras and the CCTV.
That's it, Davidson. Pretend you're interested, lad.
Camera. And we have basically all the data of the car that we can check. For example.
Oh, very, very interesting.
Here it's all the pit stops and all the stints.
No way, that's incredible.
I have my own setup to check, for example, during full Corsiado and all that stuff. I can take a car.
Yeah, so I can have a look at Pierre Gasly's car. He had this bit of a advertising hoarding, so he couldn't see. We can see him going into the pits. We can see them taking that bit of a plank out the front of his end of his car, changing the nose cone, changing the tyres, exiting the pits. Yeah, we put the green lights on the exit of the pits, so we knew he was back on track. We knew he was then having to chase around that track to try and catch the back of the safety car snake. Oh, and yeah, we knew that we'd deployed the crane onto track, the tractor on track, that he probably wasn't going to be able to see. And probably had he tried to swerve out the way of it, had he been on the racing line, might not have been able to. He might have lost control in the same way that Carlos Sainz had lost control. Crashed his car. Oh, but this time, rather than just crashing into crash barriers, it has smashed into the back of a crane and probably died in the same way that Jules Bianchi did. Funny that, isn't it?
Running for 50.
So here we're sending on the monitor, and then I'm gonna select.
Oh yeah, we can see the little dots going around the track to know where the cars are around the track, so we can see who's doing what. And you can, oh shit, Gasly's getting to where we've deployed the tractor. Hit the red flags. Oh, he's still going fast because we hit the red flags a second ago. Oh, we'll blame Gasly for that one, shall we? We'll blame Gasly.
Antonio.
Warning for 50.
Send him a black and white flag. He got the warning flag in the.
The warning flag. Have you heard of that one for Max Verstappen's driving when he drives his fellow competitor off the track? Yeah? Have you used that one on Max? Oh, no, everybody's got to give Max more space. Perhaps they should have left Max even more room. They should have driven even further off the track to avoid Max.
Car. Usually we can also go on the car to listen if the team is announcing or to see the reaction of the driver when we are announcing. So we have all the cars, all the radio of all the cars.
You can cut that sexual tension with a knife, can't you there? Davidson's having a lovely time.
And usually we all choose cars to listen, and most of the time for weather condition and all that stuff, we select some drivers that we know, to understand how you feel it on track and to understand better if we should react, set
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it, Davidson? Yeah.
all that stuff. So basically, when we're deploying a procedure, I can deploy from here. If teams need some more information, we're posting information to explain why we are doing this procedure. For example, during the prologue, we had a cat at T10.
Yep.
So we say cat at T10 so that the team manager can inform the driver. The communication with team manager is also very important for us for safety, because most of the time they are the...
Let's count these people up. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's somebody there. 6 maybe on this row. 1, 2. There's got to be 10, 12 people in race control. Different screens, different bits of data. Okay, all the time. At least 10.
Communication with team manager is also very important for us for safety, because most of the time they are the one informing us if they have an issue.
You mean team managers from the teams, the race teams themselves? Yes. So not in this room. There's no.
So it's normal, isn't it, that the team managers are in communication? Oh no, Michael Massey was under so much pressure because the teams were all talking to him. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Are you Michael Massey? No, you're not. This isn't Formula One, right? Are you Eduardo Freitas? No. So you're a call handler. Yeah. Okay. So did Michael Massey have call handlers at Abu Dhabi 2021, or were they all trying to get onto Michael Massey all at the same time? Is that what you're gaslighting us to tell us how that's how it was? Or are you all dealing with team managers, or is one person dealing with them? Is Eduardo Freitas under pressure from all the team managers, or is it that you people are receiving those calls and getting that? Yeah? Funny what they tell us and what reality is.
No team manager here.
For example,
you're talking about teams.
If a car stops on track, we don't know what's happening in the car.
Yeah.
So we need the team manager to tell us. We can rejoin, just leave us like 5 seconds, or we cannot rejoin. And if they tell us we cannot rejoin, then we know that we have to neutralize the race or the session.
We have to neutralize it. And then before we go racing, we need to make sure the conditions have been reset for everybody. Yeah, that's your role, isn't it? Race control. Overseeing safety, and then overseeing sport in fairness after you've dealt with the safety concern. There you go, chicken. There you go. It's not rocket science, is it? What's it a secret for, Davidson? Because you told us, oh, it's a secret, and I'm scared of going in there. It's like being in the headmaster's office.
What's happening?
What is he doing?
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Red flag. See? Not hard, is it?
Red flag, red flag.
He's here.
Someone's
Piotr is
in
here.
trouble.
He saw that.
Someone's in trouble?
You see how quickly they spring into action whenever you see that something is dangerous. So it looks like they've had a photographer venturing onto the circuit, and it was spotted by Eduardo first.
Eduardo saw it first. Well done, Eduardo. Didn't see that Gasly was potentially on a collision course for a tractor that you'd put onto track and may have ended up like Jules Bianchi. Didn't see that, did you? No, you've still got a job with them though.
Race director jumped into action. The red flag is implemented on track. They're going to get them here to explain themselves in front of the boss.
In front of the boss that's incompetent and corrupt. Yeah. Fuck you.
Can you just talk us through what happened in that situation there? So we saw, first of all, actually, I heard the lady behind me.
That was announcing that the journalists were going outside of the first line of protection.
Right.
In that case, we red flag the session because it's too dangerous for him and for drivers as well. So when we red flag the session...
Journalists, or photographers? Yeah, we can always trust the journalist to tell the truth, can't we? Nope.
We have to deploy from the marshalling system a red flag, which is sending the team information on the screen. And in the car, in the marshalling display of drivers, they will have the red flag. And we're also displaying on the DG panel around the track a red, so that they got the information that they have to reduce speed and go back in the pit lane.
I don't want to take up any more of your time, Lisa. Thanks so much for that. And
Thank you for coming.
I'm sure the fans will be over the moon with the level of information that they've been witnessing here.
What's your number, Lisa? What's your number?
Well, what a fascinating insight into the race control room, what happens inside that place where you don't really get to see that often, like I said, when you do as a...
Fascinating. Fascinating. Fascinating that all it is the health and safety office that's secretive. And having carried out a procedure to deal with a safety incident, you then ensure that the regulations are carried out prior to the resumption of racing. That's all it is. But no, you're not told that, are you? No, you're told that, oh, it was all so crazy at Abu Dhabi 2021. Oh, it was all so crazy, and that's why everything went a little bit chaotic. It's all confusing. Nobody knows. No, it's none of that. That was an entire contrivance. An entire contrivance. And if I find what I've just read, Martin Brundle appears to be admitting to knowing about the contrivance before it even took place. Martin Brundle of Sky Sports F1 appears to be admitting to knowing about the contrivance of Abu Dhabi 2021 before the fraud even took place. So if I can get the footage of that, that's going to be my next video.
The driver usually means you're in trouble. But really interesting speaking to these people that help to keep the show safe, but also entertain.
Help to keep the show safe. No, that's their role. That's your job. Okay, is making sure it is as safe as it can possibly be. Now, you cannot ensure that there's not going to be a crash. You cannot ensure that somebody is not going to be injured or dies. This is motorsport, and therefore incidents can happen. However, what your role is as race control and as race director and as the FIA is to make sure, in the first instance, prior to going racing, all measures are taken that the circuit is as safe as possible, and you've put in place every measure as possible to make it as safe as possible prior to going in any race even beginning. If you identify anything that could be a potential hazard, you take a measure to make sure that you reduce the hazard and you reduce any possibility of anybody suffering any harm due to what it is you've identified. That is your role. Once having done that, you then are there to oversee that event, oversee the safe running of it, and you need to intervene appropriately when something occurs. Then, prior to any resumption, you need to carry out the mandatory requirements prior to any resumption. That is simply your role. It really isn't difficult at all.
And most importantly, fair as well. As always, if you've liked this content, then remember...
Fair, yeah. Hence the regulations that make it fair. So let's just go back that.
Really interesting speaking to these people that help to keep the show safe, but also entertaining and, most importantly, fair.
The entertaining aspect of it is it's not about freestyling rules and regulations just to set up a race-off between two cars, ignoring everybody else in the race. No, because a Formula One Grand Prix is not just about two competitors. At the first race of the season, you just couldn't pick the two cars that are running first and second in that race and separate them out away from the field and go, we'll just see a race between you two and see who wins between you two. You wouldn't enable that at the first race of the season. You wouldn't enable that at the second race of the season. You wouldn't enable that at the third race of the season. You wouldn't enable that at the 10th race of the season. You wouldn't enable that at the 15th race of the season. So you're not going to enable any race of the season. And that is what FIA Race Control did at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And yet nobody in the FIA can identify that. That is a corrupt governing body of a global sport. They're criminal. They're corrupt to the core, and they are not going to change themselves. They need to be held criminally accountable, and they need to be absolutely whitewashed from top to bottom. Every element of corruption needs to be drilled out of this corrupt bastard organisation. But Davidson's on a cushy number. Davidson's here to present to you nicely about the FIA on the FIA's channel. That's nice of you, Davidson.
as well. As
Did you get a number?
always, if you've liked this content, then remember to like and subscribe. All the things you do on YouTube, you know how it works. And if you've got any comments as well, leave them below. Thanks for watching.
There you go. So please like and subscribe. If you've got any comments, then some of the decent people, I look forward to hearing them. If you're just a strap-on fanboy, you needn't bother. I'm not really interested in yours. Yours are a waste of time. Anyway, if you don't like this content, let me just advise you, don't bother subscribing. You don't have to. You know, you really don't have to. I don't need you as a subscriber, okay? When I was a child, we used to watch the television. We didn't used to have the internet, and we didn't used to have an unlimited number of things that we could watch, which seems to be available on the internet in places such as YouTube. You've got an infinite number of things that you could watch, but you choose to watch something that you don't like. That's rather strange. I mean, when I was watching the TV, if I flicked onto a TV channel and I didn't like what was on, what I didn't do was continue watching it and write 5 letters to that TV channel complaining that I didn't like what it was I was watching. I didn't do that, okay? All I did was use the remote control and flick to the next channel to find something that I liked, okay? That's what I do, and that's what most normal people do. Okay, what you tend to do is you find something you don't like, and then you watch that, and then you subscribe to it, you ring the bell, and the moment that something else is published that you won't like, you watch that, and then you're enraged and you write 5 comments in the comment section to try and discredit and undermine it and try and discourage other people from watching it. Strange that. Strange conduct. I wonder why you do that. Let me know what you think in the comments section. In fact, don't. Anyway, thank you all for your time. Cheers.